Hello, my friends. Russell Wright from Super-Intelligent AI, and this is a very important update, not just for my Q-Miracle students, but any of the other training systems or private students we have in regards to 2024 and AI. My wife and I have been spending a lot of time, I don't know if you've met her, Kaylin, she operates the members area and is community manager and a variety of other things in the company. One of the things I wanted to make this update for is because after many weeks, probably months worth of R&D and watching the big corporations with generative AI and all the helpful plugins and content and ChatGPT and the dramas going over on OpenAI, the relationships with the various subsidiary companies, the trillions of dollars running through the market, and more importantly, the origin of a lot of this technology and AI being DeepMind, which is owned by Google, and they have $1 trillion worth of investment. I'm going to give you some really huge time-saving ideas and an understanding of what not to do. Okay. The main thing is that generative AI by itself will not save us. Okay. And additionally, remember what Mark Andreessen said on the Lex Friedman podcast, which I will leave a link so you guys should watch it. Mark Andreessen is super smart. For example, he's supporting a company called Rewind that my wife and I are invested in. Not heavily, but we've been playing around a lot with their technologies on the Apple OS chip for AI. So here's the thing that I want you to think about. I'm going to give you a top-level view of what's going to happen and how much time-wasting things are possible now with AI, like hugely time-wasting. So I've used all this AI technology so that you don't have to. I'm also going to quote a friend of mine, Aaron, who has said one of the most important things ever, and you'll hear this a lot in the neurosciences. People don't need more content, okay? They need context. Content is no longer king. This is the big takeaway, okay? The big idea, the main thing about the main thing, okay? And this is after being really careful about where I wanted to take you guys in 2024 and what kind of things you should be hopeful for and what things you should not be hopeful for. And we're going to get real, okay, with this topic. Main thing here, as I pull out the SEO van here, this is my Geo van where I like to play with local SEO using 360 cameras and the rest, which will be starting all this type of thing. But our real house is right there. Okay, this is our luxury item, our home away from home. We pretty much live on the road right now, and my wife drives this one. Her truck is not there. And this is my SEO van. And when I'm doing projects, I work out here. It's a little bit messy right now, so don't judge me. Okay, this is a big enough deal that as soon as I save you time, it's a trigger to talk to you guys. So for example, Mark Andreessen said something really amazing on the Lex Friedman podcast. Because I love that guy. I don't know if you know him, he was the originator of the Mozilla browser and previously Netscape, actually, he actually created one of the original browsers out there. So the main thing is that there's only a certain number of products in the business sector, but the ones that are the hottest are time savers. So if you build a time machine, I love this, which is why he supported Rewind for Apple and soon to be PC. A time machine is anything that saves people time, because in hypercapitalism, the better you get, the better you better get, right? There's this idea that AI is going to make you rich, these types of things. Completely ridiculous for most people. Okay? Completely ridiculous. Looks like I tipped over some things back there. The reason it's ridiculous is that everything is centralizing to it will definitely help you innovate. And if used correctly as an extension of yourself, an extension of your knowledge and insight, it can help you a lot. Okay, but making you rich, think about it this way. The AI swarm, the agent swarms, these types of things, they are not available to the consumer. So take a look at what happened at Microsoft with Open. So everybody's waiting for Copilot. Copilot is now in E5, so they're rolling it out to the giant corporations first. Okay? I don't have anything against giant corporations and Microsoft and so on and so forth, okay? I just want you to think this through. If the giant corporations are getting this first, all power centralizes. The better you get, the better you better get. The people who can pay the most amount of money for these large models across multiple softwares. For example, Microsoft Copilot now, even with all the open AI dramas, is only being given to E5 companies or greater. This means that they won't even pick up the phone and talk to you about being able to talk to all your applications and have it do your taxes for you and be smarter than you unless you're an E5 corporation. There's promises and carrots on the stick and very distracting carrots on the stick for companies smaller than E5. Okay, so that's a time waster. When you're anticipating the use, it's kind of like Microsoft getting really nervous about OpenAI's freaky behavior because they're like, man, we're dependent upon these guys. So they did everything they could to keep this relationship in place. Okay, and my point to you guys is that Google is the original inventor, the original open source. They're kicking themselves for releasing the LLM language learning models, which are open source, because Ilya from OpenAI is a very, very smart dude, the Israeli guy who pretty much made OpenAI what it is. After the all the big money banks, all the big people like Elon Musk and their gigantic social media egos, and Sam Altman, who's very, very much aware of social proofing and these types of things. This is a problem. Let me just make sure I don't overheat my phone, because it's about the money, right? That's not rocket science here, guys, right? It's not rocket science. So when I say it's about the money, what I'm really trying to communicate with you guys is that it's going to centralize outside of the hands of individuals who want to have freedom. So there'll be a lot of so integration is the key here with these large corporations. So we now know that Copilot is not going to be coming out anytime soon to the individual or the small business owner, which maybe sometime in 24, but people are holding their breath and waiting for it. They're going to spreadsheets.com and other things to try to get their spreadsheets and their calculations to talk to them. There's a whole bunch of apps and wrappers that are were built around OpenAI. And then one day at the OpenAI AI conference, they just released the fact that they're going to change, they're getting rid of the plugins, and now they're going to do their own store, these types of things. But think about this. Have you ever just looked at how many plugins or apps there are on your phone or anywhere else? You need 1,000 different things for 1,000 different things. Okay, this is a massive cost of retrieval. My wife has plenty of applications on her phone. I have applications on my phone. Sometimes you need them. But a lot of the times we have all kinds of different plugins. How about WordPress? Sometimes we need all kinds of different WordPress plugins. And, we have, I remember one time back in the day, we had like 75 WordPress plugins installed in one website, all to perform a task because there's no unified central core. And that plugin environment on WordPress made WordPress a popular CMS, content management system, because there were plenty of people that, wanted the flexibility of plugins they could play, but it also created a security vulnerability, right? WordPress is one of the most insecure website builders ever. It's one of the originals, but it's also one of the worstly secure. That's why you have hosting companies like WP Engine and the rest claiming to protect you. There's always somebody going to come around the corner and make things safer. I'm going somewhere with all this, which is really important to you guys. I don't recommend, this is after weeks, months worth of research for me, and now my wife Kaylin helping me with this. Duet is inside Google Workspaces, and it works okay. But Duet has been enableable for the consumer as well. So I'm going to suggest that you stay focused on the real problem. The real problem is training your own data, obviously, and having a conversation with your own data with AI. And we're going to talk about information gain and the Google patents. We're talking about SEO here, so I'm always coming from the position of an expert in search retrieval. Search retrieval can mean anything from searching for an application on your iPhone and finding it or not finding it. That's a form of search engine. To using Mozilla, Firefox, or Chrome, or of course we know Safari for Mac. All of these browser wars are all based around search. Search is not going anywhere anytime soon because search retrieval is still the function that human beings use. It's called an affordance, as Jimmy will talk to you about. Jimmy and I have been teaching people, just like game programmers, when you can engage with something in a game, that's called an affordance. But when you actually type something into a query box in search retrieval, that's called an affordance. Okay, these are technical names that I'm going to start teaching you guys. The reason these are important is by looking deeply in what people are rolling out first. The war between Google and Microsoft is the big one, okay? So Google has recently done something extraordinary. And by the way, guys, I'm going to be showing you how-to videos below, in different plans in here. I mean, in different spaces inside our mighty networks. Okay, what I really want to make sure you guys understand is Google has something called Google Drive, and I'm sure you've used it, or Google Spaces. They're rolling out a product called Notebook LM, which is available for you to go and download right now. I'll leave you guys the link. And it solves the problem of being able to have a conversation with sets of data that are what you would consider to be a knowledge base. Okay, they're offering that for free to users. So that means they are taking the other end of the spectrum as Microsoft. Okay, in fact, this is what's so weird. Okay, Microsoft won't let you have a conversation with your data and Microsoft applications across your company unless you're an E5 or greater, right? Meaning you have to make millions of dollars and buy at least 35 seats on the corporate enterprise version, right? To get the real stuff. I'm sorry, but that's really what it is. Okay, let me see if I can find some shade to pull into here. And Google, on the other hand, is neglecting, in my opinion, the Google Workspace, which I pay for. Like, for example, several companies that I consult with and work for, they use Google Workspaces, but you've got to upgrade to have Duet, even though Duet was recently available to the free Google Gmail, right? They have Duet, and Duet costs $700 a year. Kaylin and I were just checking it. Duet allows you to help me write this email, help me make this slideshow, help me write better about this topic. And then Duet is supposed to be rolling out so you can talk to a spreadsheet. Okay, and they haven't rolled it out even to Google Workspaces for many, many people, including us. Okay, but they plan to. So what you can view it as a spectrum. Microsoft going for corporations, and Google is more positioned to go for the individual. Additionally, they're rolling it out to the masses on the free stuff rather than giving it to those of us who are paying pretty good money for Google Workspaces so we can connect a corporate email or a domain email to Google Workspaces. Now, I find this quite disturbing. So for instance, in many workspaces, even if you have it enabled, Google Notebook LM does not work well with your Google Drive, but your free account does. And I'll show you guys how this works. It makes sense because the licensing is very different. Google Bar doesn't work well with Google Workspaces. So this is what I'm here to tell you. Research that I've done shows me that Google is going for the masses because their freemium model pretty much made them who they are. Their model is to get everybody in a barrel via free, and that's a race to the bottom, and then pull everybody out of that through eyeballs, because what is their revenue model? Ads. Search engines exist to serve ads to their AdWords. That's where their money comes from. So it makes complete sense if you really think about it. Bing ads doesn't make that much for Microsoft. Microsoft makes money on PCs and Windows and desktop and so on and so forth. So I should have seen this coming, but it became really obvious over the last few days. So Google is going to continue to leverage their freemium models. People come for the free, but they stay for the ads. That's Google's idea, where they come for the free and they stay. And so they have Google has to believe that they have everybody's Google awareness in a box, because that awareness can be converted, to varying degrees into paid ad customers for the people who are paying millions of dollars a year for Google AdWords. Okay, all stop. Very important. And you'll hear Jimmy talk more about, I'm not supposed to talk a lot about this because we have the patents and everything, but how Google AdWords has moved everything into entities, and those entities now represent gravity wells or buckets, so that the billions of dollars worth of ad revenue from advertisers, AdWords, can be managed more effectively, more efficiently, and with higher conversion for their advertisers, and therefore more money for their shareholders. Microsoft makes money from corporations, so they're only rolling Copilot, which can talk to all of your apps, through all of your data, through everything, from compute to help me write better, okay? So Microsoft's going to take the corporate evil empire road. We joke about this because there are many, many people surveyed who thinks Microsoft's an evil empire. And if not Microsoft, Bill Gates, right? It's just that's the meme, right, from COVID and everything else. You guys know that. And I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm just giving you what's going to happen. I'm being your digital prophet here. Google is, general mass public. There's a book called Life After Google by Gilder. A very great book if you want to read it. Life After Google describes how the freemium model that Google started pretty much destroyed Silicon Valley or any other model other than viral propagation. All right? So what does this mean? This means that just stick with Google when it comes to topics and things. Start looking at Google Notebook, because Google Notebook is the closest thing to an end-to-end solution to be able to have conversations with your data, but it doesn't talk to spreadsheets. There's a lot it doesn't do. but it is for writers. And I'm going to be showing you guys some training on how to do better content using information gain. I'm going to teach you about the actual Google patent called information gain. Jimmy will be talking about a lot of this when he comes in Q1 to the conversation, starting with next week. So the main thing to get here is I would avoid, there's really only a couple of tools that you need. OpenAI does a few things well. 4.5 is coming out. You can read spreadsheets, but it's not going to remember any of your data. Google Notepad Notebook LM remembers all of your data, but it can't read spreadsheets or anything else like that. It doesn't have the same. But Google Bard has a little bit more knowledge and is able, and again, all of these Google products, Google Bard, Google Notebook LM, Google is moving rapidly with deeper insight towards these models. And not only that, the OpenAI, which Microsoft bought up, that was an open source technology that Google DeepMind and Google Go, AlphaGo and AlphaFold and all these things. Google is the thought leader in language learning models. So my suggestion would be, before you go with things like Microsoft and all the free Bing, remember how useless they're ultimately becoming. It's a race to the bottom. Like, who cares that Microsoft, Microsoft browser, who cares that Microsoft browser pulls images from DALL-E and allows you to make all kinds of inane photographs and images, and it's like fun for 10 minutes. Children love it, kids love it, people like play with it, but you'll see this hype cycle and then the boredom cycle sets in. It's like, now that everybody can do it, okay, what's it good for? Okay, it doesn't really help you with information gain per se, which we'll talk about, okay, in the upcoming. So my suggestion is think in terms of Google DeepMind. I'm going to show you the tools that we'll be using, and there's great things. ChatGPT is amazing when you're pulling the API. Okay, like if you go down into the bonus section in Qmiracle here, you can see that I'm teaching you about an application that my friend Aaron created. And I use it in a variety of different ways. It can create a $60,000 marketing campaign in under 48 hours. Okay, actually, if you get it right with your training, it can take only 20 minutes, and then you've got to. It's crazy. Like, I'm going to be piecing that out to you guys and so teaching you about it. All right, I'm an agency level. Kayla and I are at agency level with that technology. That technology still has to ask multiple questions in order to. Think about it like this: if you were to use OpenAI to write a book. Okay, I mean a good book, and to do real research, you have to have multiple points and references, multiple actions, several multi-prompts, and probably between 20 and 100 steps just to get the outline and the content researched and validated and the rest. You need several chatbots to swarm and create that book, okay? By the way, that app I show you down below in the bonus section does all that, and we're heavily invested in that. And I use it. I even use parts of that for SEO actually. We'll get into that more. My point is that to create a software like that cost Aaron huge amounts of money, all right, because he has to pull in multiple prompts, multiple chats, and he had to have a framework that he worked on for 20 years on how to write a great book, or how to create an amazing marketing campaign, or how to create information gain, okay, or come up with a structure that allows humans' chain of thought to learn something better, okay? So there's a lot of changes happening, and main thing I want you to be aware of is, like, Microsoft is not going to be your friend, okay, unless you're a giant corporation. If you got the money for that, that's great. If they drop down to making these applications integrated across other applications for the end user, that's amazing. But here's what the issue is, guys. They need to build an operating system that's AI oriented. That's when things really start to happen. Like, it's dumb. They already have the equivalent of Jarvis, okay, from, Iron Man, all right? So it's no longer about, we need an AI operating system, and that's being worked on. There's 2 AI operating systems. One of them is Coda. I can't remember what the other one is. And these guys are working hard to generate an operating system. Mark Andreessen's plug for the app which works only on Mac right now, called Rewind, which I use fairly commonly, and I'm a tester for it. That application can read your spreadsheets. It remembers everything, but it holds it on the chip. Allegedly, it has security, and it knows everything you've done throughout the day and throughout the month and throughout the year, and it'll remember everything and take you right to that spot where you were if you forget it. It's very, very cool. Okay, but really, what is that? If you look at that, Rewind. Okay, it's an app, yes, but it's also an operating system. It uses ChatGPT to talk to you about your data, but it still remembers everything on the AI processor on your computer. We need an operating system, okay? And the operating system is being built. So everybody's going to be messing around, scrambling, and hoping that Microsoft is going to bring fire down from heaven and let the little guy, have a spreadsheet that does your taxes for you. And just when they're about to reach, this is how fast things are going, guys. Just when they're about to reach out to the public and go out to the masses, somebody's going to roll out with an operating system rendering that obsolete. Okay, that's why I'm going to stick with Google. Using Google's toys and applications. Bard with Gemini just got significantly better than OpenAI for a lot of functional purposes, including your YouTube videos. It immediately transcribes them, and it immediately they're moving in a very powerful direction. Remember, guys, they're scraping YouTube, which really is literally the most advanced and most complex and the highest bandwidth information highway in the world. Forget the search engines. There's millions of hours of YouTube videos being uploaded per day, literally the equivalent of a century per second being uploaded onto YouTube. Like, it's inconceivable. Our brains don't have the ability to understand how much data is up there. Google has access to all of that, and they're the furthest along in the world for crawlers to be able to crawl all that information and begin to start collaborating with massive constructs of data, okay? So my money's on them, because the purchase of DeepMind and Google X and all these functional AI technologies, the reason Google didn't go first to the punch is because they knew the risks. Okay, check out Godot's work. He was the CTO of Google X, and he saw the robot arms that couldn't do anything. And 2 years later, they're tossing soft little balls around and performing surgeries and catching feathers in their hands and then passing them to other robot arms. Okay, he's right there in the middle of it, watching how this stuff is evolving. So, Uli, the drama happening in OpenAI is not for no reason. Okay, people are saying Q learning's BS. Honestly, guys, ignore it. People don't know what they're talking about. Okay, the bottom line is that we have AGI through a variety of indirect means. You just got to put the pieces together, and that's what's being worked on. And honestly, I'm watching Google be far more responsible with this technology, and they're more interested in having the freemium model or the individual have access to a lot of this stuff by virtue of the fact that the stuff they've rolled out to workspaces sucks. But I have way more in my free account or free accounts than what I'm paying for in Google Workspace. I mean, think about that for a second, guys. So they're the bottom up, where Microsoft only wants to give this stuff to corporations. All of it is being siphoned in through OpenAI, which is a language learning model based on Google's DeepMind. It's one of thousands of papers, honestly. So what I'm going to be showing you is how to use the closest thing to an end-to-end learning point. We have new apps coming out that are not Google, things like super-powered AI, which does have an end-to-end database that you can upload all of your own docs and talk to it. Even has the key thing about super powered is that it has an API key. So anything your organization does, you can just upload to a repository and OpenAI can talk to it. Okay, the problem is OpenAI chats, they forget the conversation you have with them. You can't talk about your day. You can't have a to-do list that lasts for weeks. It'll forget eventually it'll lose the thread. Okay? But there's a lot of solutions to that. Problem with things like super-powered AI is that even though they have an API in, if you have 50 people in your organization, 10 people, or you want to put out a consumer chatbot, every time they access your data, they're charging you token prices. Okay? Whereas Google is going to come out with a freemium model and use things like Notebook LLM and say, hey, yeah, put as much data in this as you need to. Just have a conversation with it. Okay? So I'm going to be showing you some very, very powerful stuff over the next couple of days. One of the things I want to make you aware of is don't waste your time waiting around for these companies. I just gave you the layout of what's going to happen. Okay, and it could be months before Microsoft makes anything that matters available to you, the average agency. Okay, Google is going to be offering us more tools, which I'm going to be revealing in the bonus sections below. I'm going to show you exactly how to use it. I'm going to show you how to use it to rank better in Quora or on the search engines. And then when Jimmy comes along in Q1 and other things that we'll be talking to you about, you'll be so far ahead of what's going on by virtue of the fact that you're not waiting around for the promise of Prometheus to bring this fire down to the individual, because you know the warfare that's going on in these companies. You'll have all the tools on the ground. with a centralized systemic, and nobody knows as much as all of us knows. So we will work together to tell each other and inform each other in the Mighty Networks area, in the Q-Miracle area. We're going to be talking more and more about this, guys. Don't think that I have all the answers or that Kaylin has all the answers. We're going to work together as a community. We know a lot about AI and how to rank with it. Like, that's what you're here for. But understand the political environment. If you understand the political environment, you're way ahead of the curve. All right. So with that being said, that's my big message for 2024. Don't get lost in everybody promising the newest and greatest wrappers for ChatGPT 4. How many wrappers do you want? Do you want an app for every single individual thing that you do? Okay, well, maybe. But really, what you're going to find out, and I'll show you in the bonus areas, what you need is the ability to transcribe videos, the ability to transcribe transcripts, the ability to communicate easily with humans, like this Loom. Loom is an amazing product for that, and the transcriptions can go right into a database. Okay, the ability to organize your stuff for an agency, and the ability to have a conversation with a large pile of data, which is now free, with the original company that created their language learning models, which is Google, DeepMind, and Google. So we'll go into this and we'll talk about it more. I just wanted to get this brain dump out so that you guys don't waste a huge amount of time. So I've done so much research. I'm not impressed. I can see where things are going. The bottleneck for everybody is they're worshiping and depending upon the AI API from a lot of these big companies that Microsoft is desperately trying to make themselves look good with. But the companies that Microsoft is dependent upon can't even hold their board of directors together. Okay? Stick with Google DeepMind and watch what they're doing for AI. Okay? All right, I'll start putting this stuff down below in the members area, and you guys, I'm really, really excited about it. By the way, OpenAI t-shirt does not mean that I'm partial to OpenAI. All right, you guys, talk to you later.